Hello pickles! So today I'm going to talk to you about how I turned my 2-2 into a first with 5 study tips. So basically, in first year, I received a 2-2. I got a 59%, which is like 1% off a 2-1. But what I realised was that I wasn't studying effectively. It wasn't necessarily that I wasn't understanding the content we were given. It was just that I didn't know how to apply that when it came to assessments and exams. And so over the second year of my university degree, I kind of realised what was working well and what wasn't, and how to change my study habits to help me study better and get better grades. So I managed to turn my 2-2 in first year into getting a first in second year and third year. Overall, that meant I got a first in my degree. Now, there is nothing wrong with getting a 2-2. I know friends who've got 2-2 that are much more successful in life than I am. But if you are wanting to look at how to study better and how to sort of improve your grades or just make more of your university experience in the learning department, then this might help you. So I studied English literature and creative writing at university, and that means that these tips are probably more applicable to those subjects, or generally the humanities and like essay-based subjects, because I haven't done the sciences and I would have no idea how to study for a science degree. So here are 5 tips that I've made that I think will help you. So the first is reading better. And by reading better, not only do I mean read the stuff they tell you to read, which is, may I add, extremely important, and one of the things I did learn to do, because I definitely didn't read all the texts in first year, because I thought, oh, I'll just read the ones that I'm doing the exams on. Not a good idea. So what I mean by reading better is reading beyond your reading list, reading things around the subject so that you have a better breadth of knowledge when it comes to writing essays or assessments, or just in general discussing that subject, because you have all of these things you can draw on and all of this greater understanding. As well as that, there's the element of reading with intent. So by this I mean, when you're reading a text, you need to think about what you're meant to be getting from it. So say in English literature you're doing a module on feminist text, you need to be looking at the text you're given with that feminist outlook. Now, obviously you can still read things to enjoy, but there is an element here that when you are studying for a university degree, you need to think about why those texts are being picked, why those texts are for that module, and then reading towards that module. So when you're going in, you know what quotes you're wanting to look at, you know where to highlight, you know what's important in that text, and having that frame of mind really helps when it comes to studying and when it comes to understanding what the course wants from you. Within the creative writing aspect of my degree as well, it's reading beyond the course in like a creative way. So if you are really interested in fantasy and writing fantasy, and that's not coming up on your course a lot, so you still need to be reading those fantasy genres to help your writing, to give you inspiration and all of those things. You don't need to give up reading for enjoyment. You just need to understand that you are looking at these books, whatever context they're in for your degree, in a different sort of way. You're looking at them in this analytical way and in this way that is to do with study rather than pleasure. My second tip is learning to talk to your tutors. Now this might seem obvious, but I didn't do this in first year. I didn't go to them before the assessments and ask them questions about it. I didn't go to them after the assessments when I did badly because I wanted to know how to improve. Instead, I just kind of pretended outside of those seminars and lectures that these tutors didn't exist, and actually they're there to help, and they have office hours to help you. They want you to come with questions, and I've always found that if you go to a tutor and you're asking for help, they will always offer that help to you. So if you are struggling with an assessment, it's good to go to a tutor beforehand and ask them. They might help go through your plan with you, or they might give you some pointers or reading lists that might help you with your specific essay topic. And also, after you've done an assessment, if you've not done as well as you should do, or you've not done as well as you want to do, then you can actually go to them and ask them how to improve. And this really helped me because I learned the ways in which my essays were perhaps not gelling quite right, and perhaps there were certain things that popped up in lots of different essays that I then learned to sort of improve on those specific elements of my essay writing. It's sometimes hard to do this, and I get that it's embarrassing occasionally to ask for help, and it's sometimes awkward if you don't know that tutor particularly well, but they have office hours for a reason, and they're more than happy to talk to you. And you can also just talk to your tutors like after seminars as well. Like if you have a specific thing you want them to expand on, or you're not understanding something, they'd much rather you went to them and asked them than you just pretended that you did understand and then you had no idea what you were doing when it came to the assessment. You might be intimidated by the idea of doing this, but honestly in reality it's not that scary. My third tip is one that I really needed to learn, and that was to proofread properly, check your grammar, and do your referencing right. Now, these all seem like really, really obvious tips, but those are the things that can lose you stupid marks in an essay. Like if you've not properly proofread, if you've not checked your grammar, or if your referencing is wrong, then you can lose a lot of marks, even if the content of your essay is really good. And the thing is, I was really, really bad at referencing in first year. Like I didn't understand it and I didn't bother asking for help, and I tried to use these referencing generators online, but they weren't actually that good. So until I learned that skill, I was always losing marks for that in my essays, which were needless marks to lose. And then on top of that, when it comes to spelling and grammar and proofreading, obviously it's taking time and making sure you finish your essay in time so that you've got time to do that for yourself. But there's also things you can use to help you out. So you can use tools like Grammarly or any of the other grammar checkers to check for you, but you can also exchange essays with your friends. Like as long as they're not writing the essay for you, it's fine. You can swap essays and read them over for each other, and often that's the best way to spot mistakes, because when you're reading your own work you can become really blind to the little errors that are in it, but your friend might spot them and you can do the same for them, and then it becomes very easy. And you also have that community of people that you can use when it comes to discussing essay ideas, not just the little grammatical bits towards the end. One of the things that really hindered my essay writing was planning properly, and that's my fourth tip for you all, that you need to learn how to make an essay plan that will help you structure your essay in a good and understandable and clear way. So you can have that same theory that they use in like sort of high school education, the PEE, point, evidence, explain, but that needs to be a little bit more nuanced at university level. So obviously you still need to have original points and you still need to have that sort of structure where you give evidence and explanation for each of your points, but the evidence and explanation need to be a lot more in depth. So when it comes to evidence, you need to find good sources and you need to find enough sources. That's one of the things I don't think I understood in first year, was the importance of finding good primary and secondary sources for your essays. And if you're struggling with this, you can ask for help from your tutors, but you can also talk to your friends about it and have a look on the reading lists and recommending reading lists, because they actually often have things that will really help you out. Often you'll get told how many sources are expected from you for an essay, but if you don't, then talk to your tutors and ask them how many they expect, because if you don't put enough in, it will reflect comparing your work to another student's work if you've not got that evidence that's backing up at your idea as like, you know, a solid academic idea. Talking of the solid academic ideas, you really need to have a solid thesis statement. So your argument needs to be something that you know you can sustain for that word count. So say you've got a 3,000 word essay, you need to know you've got enough points that you can make it through that essay, but not so many points. It's not such a broad idea that you won't actually be able to surmise it in that time. So it's to do with finding an argument that you think you can argue successfully and you think you've got the right evidence to argue, while still making sure that it's not too broad a topic that you're like just scratching the surface. And one of the things I think I did a lot in first year was repeat myself. Like I would have this one good idea and then I just continually repeat it throughout my essay in different ways. And actually you're not making a very good argument there. All you're doing is saying the same thing in different ways with different evidence. You need to have different arguments that layer upon each other to bring you back to this original thesis statement. So when it comes to planning your essay, you need to have these sources, this thesis, this structure all down on a page. So when it comes to writing the essay, you can actually structure your essay around it. And then you can understand the flow of the essay itself. You can understand which point is going to lead into which point and how there can be a cumulative effect to this essay that gives you an overall strong structured argument. The last tip I want to give is about module choices. So when I was in second year and third year, I think one of the things that actually really helped my grades was that I got to choose my own modules, and by that point I'd sort of established where my interests lay. And that's a really important part of university, is understanding within this broad subject that you're studying which parts of it really interest you. I know this might seem like a really simple point to make, but it can be tempting at university to take modules because they sound smart or because your friends are taking those modules. But if that isn't where your interests are within, then you will not be as engaged in that module. So you need to know what areas you want to specifically study, and this will help because if you're studying things that you're specifically interested in, when it comes to something like picking your dissertation topic, you'll kind of know what area you want to do it in. If you're not sure what things you're interested in, then read around the subject. Have a look at the reading lists of the modules that are offered to you and see which ones pique your interest, see which ones have books that you perhaps already know you like, or authors you know you like, or even just ones where you think, oh, I know that this tutor teaches really well and I really gel with their teaching style, so perhaps I'll, be interested in the way they teach this subject. but really you're doing a degree to enjoy it. So another thing when it comes to module choices is understanding the assessment type that suits you. So I know I'm really bad in exams. I get extremely stressed and nervous, and I lose all of the trains of thought and the things I've learned because I'm just sitting there getting stressed. And actually coursework is where my strengths lie. So when I came to picking my second and third year modules, I was picking modules based off the assessment styles that they allowed and things that I knew would gel with me. I also enjoyed modules where there was that element of like a creative and academic hybrid, because I found that helped show my sort of creative side, but also, you know, tied in that academic side, and I still felt I was learning this sort of English literature side of my degree. But I knew that exams weren't for me, so I did specifically avoid assessments that were exam based because I knew that it wouldn't work, and I would get more stressed about that and wouldn't take what I wanted out of that module. So before you pick your modules, have a look at what the assessments for those modules will be and see if there's something that you think you would enjoy doing. These might seem like really simple tips, but learning to study effectively is quite a hard thing to do. You have to learn your own habits, you have to learn your own routines, and just things like learning how to read effectively will take time. You'll learn your own methods. I like using those little coloured tabs to find the pages and passages I enjoy. I don't like marking my pages in my books because I find that stressful. I enjoy writing quotes out, but those are just personal preferences that you learn as you practice. And when it comes to things like talking to tutors and talking to friends around your subject, that's another thing that takes time and confidence, but you will get there, and they are things that will improve your grades. Obviously there may be extra services at your specific university. There might be Royal Literary Fellows, there might be academic writing classes or anything like that that you can use as well. And if you are struggling, then I do recommend that you talk to someone at your university who can point you in the right direction for those academic resources. Honestly, I wouldn't try to get too obsessed with your grades, because I know really smart people that got all different grades at university, and they're not a reflection of your intelligence. It's often just a reflection of how well you assess within that certain like bubble of assessment that academia allows for. But at the same time, implementing good study tips that are personal to you will help improve those grades. A bad grade isn't the end of the world, but learning to study well can help you enjoy your subject more. I really hope that some of these tips can help you study more effectively and help you enjoy your subject more, because at the end of the day, that's all I really wanted from my university degree, was to learn to love English literature and learn to love writing more. And I hope that you can feel the same way about your own degrees. But it's all to do with learning what works well for you and trying to implement that into your own study routine. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe. Later, Spickles.